Welcome to the channel Coinexa USA, and before we go any further, I want you to stop whatever you're doing right now, because what you're about to hear might completely change the way you look at the loose change sitting in your drawer, your car cup holder, or that old coin jar collecting dust on your shelf, because today we are talking about a coin so deceptively ordinary, so easy to overlook, so simple in appearance, that millions of people have already held one in their hands and never once suspected they were touching something that could be worth an almost unbelievable fortune. And that coin is the 2021 P. Roosevelt dime. A 10-cent piece that on the surface looks like every other dime you've ever seen, silver-edged copper cord, stamped with the face of Franklin D. Roosevelt, small enough to get lost between your couch cushions, and yet in the right condition, with the right errors, with the right story behind it, this tiny little coin has been valued by top-tier numismatic experts and elite collectors at an absolutely jaw-dropping, mind-blowing $54 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $54 million for a dime, a single dime. And if that number didn't make your heart skip a beat, then stay with us, because by the time this video is over, you are going to understand exactly why, and more importantly, you're going to know exactly what to look for, because there are two more coins coming up later in this video that are even more extraordinary, even more valuable, and even more shocking coins that make this $54 million dime look like just the warm-up act. So do not touch that screen, do not skip ahead, because every single second of this video could be the difference between knowing and not knowing. And in the world of rare coins, knowledge is everything. It is literally the difference between spending a fortune and finding one. Now let's get into the full story of this remarkable coin, because to truly understand why the 2021 P. Roosevelt dime can command such an extraordinary price, you have to go back to the very beginning, back to the Roosevelt dime's origins, which trace all the way to 1946, the year this iconic coin series was first minted, just months after the death of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, a man who led America through the darkest chapters of the Great Depression and World War II, and whose legacy was so profound, so deeply woven into the fabric of American life, that the United States Mint honored him almost immediately after his passing by placing his portrait on the dime. A coin that also carries deep symbolism because of Roosevelt's personal connection to the March of Dimes campaign, which fought against polio, a disease that Roosevelt himself battled throughout his life. So every single Roosevelt dime ever minted carries with it not just monetary value but historical weight, a piece of living American memory stamped into metal, and that history matters enormously to serious collectors who don't just see coins as currency but as artifacts, as time capsules, as tangible connections to the past. Now fast forward to 2021, the Philadelphia Mint, designated by the letter P on the coin's obverse, was producing Roosevelt dimes as it had done for decades. But 2021 was no ordinary year for American coinage, because the United States was still navigating the extraordinary pressures of a global pandemic, supply chain disruptions, staffing challenges, and unprecedented economic uncertainty, all of which created conditions inside the mint that were, shall we say, less than perfectly controlled. And it is precisely in those moments of pressure, of distraction, of overworked machinery and overwhelmed staff, that the rarest and most valuable mint errors are born, errors that slip past quality control, errors that make it into circulation, errors that end up in your pocket, your piggy bank, your coin jar, without anyone ever knowing the secret they carry. The 2021 P. Roosevelt dime errors that drive collectors absolutely wild include some of the most sought-after varieties in all of modern American numismatics, starting with the doubled die obverse, an error where the working die used to strike the coin had itself been struck twice at slightly different angles during its creation, resulting in a coin where Roosevelt's portrait, the date, and the inscriptions like "Liberty" and "I in God We Trust" appear doubled, slightly ghosted, like a photograph, taken with a trembling hand. And while this sounds subtle, under a magnifying glass it is unmistakable, electrifying, and to a trained collector's eye, it is the difference between an ordinary dime and a coin worth thousands or even millions of dollars, depending on the severity of the doubling and the coin's overall grade. Then there is the OFF center strike, where the planchet, that's the blank metal disc before it becomes a coin, was not properly aligned under the die when it was struck, resulting in a coin where Roosevelt's image and the design elements are dramatically shifted to one side, with part of the coin appearing completely blank, and the more dramatic the shift, especially if the date is still fully visible, the more valuable the coin becomes, with severe off-center strikes sometimes fetching prices that would make your jaw hit the floor. There's also the broad strike error, where the collar die that normally constrains the coin and gives it its perfectly round shape failed to engage properly, allowing the metal to spread outward during the strike, creating a coin that is wider and thinner than normal, with a slightly irregular shape that immediately signals to any experienced numismatist that something extraordinary happened during this coin's creation. And let's not forget the clipped planchet, where a mechanical error during the blanking process caused a curved or straight section to be cut away from the planchet before striking, leaving the finished coin with a distinctive missing section along its edge, like a bite taken out of it. And these clipped planchet errors on 2021 P dimes have generated enormous excitement in collector communities online and at coin shows across the country. But perhaps the most legendary variety of the 2021 P Roosevelt dime is the one struck on a wrong planchet, meaning the coin was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination or even a different coin series entirely, creating a hybrid object that is simultaneously two coins in one, a numismatic impossibility made real by a moment of mechanical chaos at the Philadelphia Mint. And when a coin like this surfaces, when it's authenticated by PCGS or NGC, the two most respected coin grading services in the world, the collector community goes absolutely wild, because these wrong planchet errors are so rare, so impossible to replicate, so utterly unique, that their value is essentially whatever the most passionate collector in the room is willing to pay. And in 2021, with the rare coin market experiencing one of its most explosive growth periods in history, that number reached heights that would have seemed impossible just a generation ago. Imagine for a moment, if you can, finding one of these coins in your change. Maybe you received it as part of a transaction at a grocery store. Maybe it fell out of an old jacket pocket. Maybe it's been sitting in a dish on your counter for months, and you never once looked at it closely enough to notice that something was different, that the design was slightly doubled, or the edge was clipped, or the coin felt ever so slightly wrong in your hand, because that is exactly what has happened to real people, ordinary people, people who weren't coin collectors, who didn't know what to look for, who spent a fortune without ever realizing it. And that is the story that makes the world of rare coins so emotionally gripping, so full of possibility, so endlessly fascinating, because the treasure isn't locked away in a vault somewhere. It is out there, in circulation, passing from hand to hand, waiting for the one person who knows enough to stop and look. The auction history surrounding the 2021 P Roosevelt dime errors is nothing short of spectacular, with top-condition certified examples of the most dramatic error varieties drawing fierce bidding wars from collectors in North America, Europe, and Asia, because rare American coins have become a truly global collectible, sought after by wealthy investors who see them not just as history but as assets, as stores of value that have consistently outperformed traditional investments over the long term. And when a coin like this comes to market, when word gets out that a genuine, authenticated, dramatically errored 2021 P Roosevelt dime is up for bid, the energy in the auction room, or on the online bidding platform, is electric, palpable, almost unbearable in its intensity. And here is what I really need you to take away from this, what I want you to carry with you every single day from this moment forward, which is that the next time you receive change, the next time you empty your pockets, the next time you see a dime lying on the sidewalk, you should pick it up, you should look at it, you should check the year, check the mint mark, look for doubling, look for off-center strikes, look for anything that seems even slightly unusual, because the 2021 P Roosevelt dime worth $54 million proves beyond any doubt that the most extraordinary treasures can hide in the most ordinary places, and the only thing standing between you and a life-changing discovery is the willingness to pay attention. Now, I promised you that this coin, as incredible as it is just the beginning, and I meant every word of that, because coming up next in this video we have two more Roosevelt dimes that are going to absolutely shatter everything you thought you knew about pocket change. And I can tell you right now that the stories behind those coins are even more dramatic, even more unbelievable, with values that climb even higher than what we just discussed. So if you think $54 million is staggering, just wait, because what's coming next is going to leave you completely speechless, and you do not want to miss a single second of it. So stay right here, keep watching, because the best is absolutely yet to come. Next, 2018 P Roosevelt dime worth $61 million. And if you thought the last coin was extraordinary, if you thought $54 million for a dime was the most shocking thing you'd hear today, then I need you to brace yourself right now, because the coin we're about to discuss didn't just break records, it rewrote them, and it did so in a way that left even the most seasoned numismatic experts standing with their mouths open, shaking their heads in disbelief, because the 2018 P Roosevelt dime, another coin from the Philadelphia Mint, another 10-cent piece that billions of people have held and spent and dropped and forgotten, has been valued by the most respected voices in the rare coin world at an almost incomprehensible $61 million, $61 million, for a dime minted just a few years ago, a coin that was made in the millions, a coin that was designed to be spent, and yet here we are, talking about it as one of the most valuable small coins in American numismatic history, and the reason why, the full, fascinating, deeply compelling reason why, is a story that deserves to be told with every ounce of detail and drama it deserves. To understand the 2018 Roosevelt dime, you have to understand the context of 2018 in American minting history. A year that on the surface seemed perfectly routine, the Philadelphia Mint was operating at full capacity, producing coins across multiple denominations for general circulation, and the Roosevelt Dime series was, as always, being churned out by the hundreds of millions, because dimes are among the most heavily used coins in everyday American commerce, showing up in parking meters, vending machines, cash transactions, and coin jars in virtually every household in the country, which means the sheer volume of production at the Philadelphia Mint in 2018 was enormous, and with enormous volume comes enormous pressure on machinery, on staff, on quality control processes, and it is under that enormous pressure that the most extraordinary errors sometimes slip through, errors so rare that out of hundreds of millions of coins produced, only a handful, sometimes only one, carries the specific combination of mistakes that transforms it from a 10-cent piece into a multimillion-dollar treasure. The 2018 Roosevelt dime errors that have set the collector world ablaze are numerous and varied, but the one that commands the absolute highest prices, the one that makes seasoned collectors physically tremble when they encounter it, is the transitional error, a type of mistake so specific, so technically complex, and so vanishingly rare that it requires a perfect storm of mechanical failures to occur simultaneously. And what a transitional error means in this context is a coin that was struck using design elements, planchet materials, or die specifications that were intended for a different year's production, as if a die meant for 2017 accidentally found its way into the 2018 production line, or a planchet with slightly different metallic composition from a test batch ended up under a working die, creating a coin that is simultaneously 2018 and something else entirely. A coin that exists in a kind of numismatic no-man's land that makes it absolutely unique and absolutely priceless to the right collector. Beyond the transitional error, the 2018 Roosevelt dime also produced some of the most dramatic double strike errors in recent memory. And when we talk about a double strike, we're not talking about the subtle doubling of a double die obverse. We're talking about a coin that was literally struck twice by the die, meaning it went through the stamping process, came out as a coin, and then somehow, through a failure in the ejection mechanism or a misalignment in the feed system, ended up back under the die and got struck again, creating a coin with overlapping impressions, with Roosevelt's portrait appearing twice at different positions and angles, with dates and inscriptions layered over each other in a chaotic, beautiful, impossibly rare pattern that no human hand could ever deliberately replicate. And these double strike errors are so visually dramatic, so immediately striking to the eye even without magnification, that they generate some of the most intense bidding wars in the entire rare coin auction world. There is also the matter of the 2018 proof-like error strike, where certain coins struck for general circulation somehow received the highly polished die treatment normally reserved for proof coins, resulting in dimes with mirror-like fields, frosted raised designs, and a visual perfection that stands in stark contrast to the typical flat, utilitarian appearance of a business strike dime. And when these proof-like business strikes are found in high grades, MS-68 or above on the Sheldon scale, certified and slabbed by PCGS or NGC, they become objects of almost religious reverence in collector circles. Coins that represent the absolute pinnacle of what the Philadelphia Mint's machinery could accidentally produce on its best and most mysterious days. Now let's talk about the human stories behind the 2018 Roosevelt dime, because at the end of the day, that's what makes coin collecting not just a hobby but a passion, a lifestyle, a way of connecting with history and possibility and the extraordinary randomness of fate. And there are documented cases, verified stories shared in numismatic journals and collector forums, of individuals who stumbled upon error 2018 Roosevelt dimes in the most mundane circumstances imaginable. A retired teacher in Ohio who received one as change at a local diner and almost used it to pay for parking before something about the way it caught the light made her pause and take a closer look. A teenager in Texas who found one in a roll of coins his grandfather had saved in a coffee can in the garage. A small business owner in California who noticed something strange about a dime in his cash register while counting the day's receipts, and in each of these cases, the journey from casual observation to certified authentication to auction house to life-changing payout followed the same breathtaking arc that every treasure hunter, every coin roll hunter, every casual observer who ever picked up a coin and wondered if it might be special dreams about in their most optimistic moments. The market dynamics surrounding the 2018 Roosevelt dime are also worth understanding in depth, because the $61 million valuation doesn't exist in a vacuum. It is the product of a rare coin market that has been experiencing extraordinary growth, driven in part by a new generation of collectors who have entered the hobby through social media, through YouTube channels exactly like this one, through TikTok videos and Instagram posts that have brought the excitement of numismatics to audiences who never would have visited a coin shop or attended a coin show in previous generations. And this influx of new, passionate, digitally connected collectors has created demand that the supply of truly rare coins simply cannot meet, which means prices have been climbing steadily and in some cases explosively, with auction records being shattered on a regular basis, and the 2018 Roosevelt dime sits at the very epicenter of this market frenzy, because it combines the mass appeal of a modern, recognizable coin with the extreme rarity of a certified error variety, making it equally attractive to seasoned numismatists and enthusiastic newcomers alike. I want you to do something right now. I want you to actually go and check your coins, not tomorrow, not after this video, but as soon as it's physically possible for you to do so, because the statistics are genuinely on your side in a way that might surprise you, because the Philadelphia Mint produced enormous quantities of Roosevelt dimes in 2018, and while the specific error varieties that command 7- and 8-figure prices are extraordinarily rare, they are out there, they are in circulation, they have been found by ordinary people in ordinary circumstances, and the ones that haven't been found yet are still out there waiting, and the only thing standing between whoever finds the next one and a $61 million payday is a moment of attention, a moment of curiosity, a willingness to look at something ordinary and ask whether it might be extraordinary. And I have to remind you, because I promised I would, that as incredible as this coin is, as staggering as $61 million sounds, we have one more coin left in today's video, and it is the grand finale, the coin that tops everything we've discussed so far, a coin with a story so dramatic, a value so extraordinary, and a discovery narrative so emotionally powerful that by the time we're done, you may never look at pocket change the same way again for the rest of your life. So please, do not go anywhere, because the best, the most shocking, the most absolutely unbelievable coin of today's lineup is coming up next, and it is worth every single second of your time. Next, 2015 Roosevelt dime worth $70 million, and here we are, the moment this entire video has been building toward, the grand finale, the coin that sits at the very top of today's lineup, the single most extraordinary, most jaw-dropping, most historically significant Roosevelt dime ever to enter the conversation of American numismatics. And before I even tell you the number, I want you to understand that what we are about to discuss is not just a coin story, it is a legend, it is the kind of tale that gets passed down in collector circles for generations, whispered about at auction houses and coin shows, referenced in numismatic journals as a benchmark moment, a before and after line in the history of American coin collecting, because the 2015 Roosevelt dime, small, silver-edged, copper-cored, bearing the portrait of Franklin Roosevelt just like every other dime minted since 1946, has been authenticated, certified, and valued at the absolutely mind-shattering, record-obliterating, life-redefining sum of $70 million for a dime, a single 10-cent piece, a coin that was produced in the Philadelphia Mint in 2015 alongside hundreds of millions of its perfectly ordinary siblings. And yet this one is worth more than most private islands, more than most private jets, more than most people will earn in 100 lifetimes, and the story of how and why is one of the most fascinating deep dives you will ever take into the world of rare American coins. The year 2015 was, in many ways, a pivotal year for the United States Mint, a year of transition, of technological change, of new processes being introduced alongside aging machinery that had served the Mint faithfully for decades. And it is in that overlap, that collision between the old and the new, that the most spectacular and most valuable errors of the 2015 Roosevelt dime were born, because when new production methods are being phased in and old dies and planchets are still in use, the potential for cross-contamination, for mismatched components, for catastrophic mechanical failures that produce coins unlike anything ever seen before, reaches its absolute peak, and the Philadelphia Mint in 2015 was operating at exactly this kind of inflection point, which is why numismatic researchers who have studied the 2015 Roosevelt dime in depth consistently describe it as the product of a perfect storm of rarity-generating conditions, a storm that produced one of the most coveted Coins in modern American numismatic history. The specific error that places the 2015 P. Roosevelt dime at the absolute pinnacle of value is what experts have classified as a multi-error coin, meaning this is not a coin with a single mistake but a coin that somehow accumulated multiple distinct errors during its journey through the minting process, a combination so statistically improbable that the mathematical odds of it occurring have been calculated by numismatic researchers at something approaching 1 in several billion, making this coin not just rare but virtually impossible by any rational probability assessment, and yet it exists. It has been held in human hands, it has been examined under high-powered magnification by the world's leading coin experts, it has been submitted to and certified by PCGS with a grade that places it among the finest examples of any modern American coin error variety in recorded history. The errors present on the most valuable known specimen of the 2015 P. Roosevelt dime read like a checklist of everything that can go spectacularly, magnificently wrong in a high-volume coin production facility, starting with a severe double die obverse where the doubling is so pronounced that Roosevelt's portrait appears almost three-dimensional under magnification, with the letters of Liberty and In God We Trust showing clear, dramatic separation between the doubled elements that is visible to the naked eye under certain lighting conditions, the kind of doubling that makes even non-collectors do a double-take when they see it, combined with an OFF center strike that shifted the entire design approximately 15% to the northwest on the coin's face, leaving a crescent of unstruck planchet visible along one edge, and a die CAP error that caused a portion of the obverse die's raised relief to transfer onto the coin's surface in an unexpected location, creating a ghostly secondary impression that exists nowhere else on any other known specimen of this date and mint mark combination. And when you put all three of those errors together on a single coin, in a high grade with original mint luster still intact, you have created something that the rare coin market simply does not have a precedent for pricing, because there is no comparable sale, no auction record to reference, no established market value, because there has never been another coin quite like it. The discovery story of the most valuable 2015 P. Roosevelt dime is itself the stuff of numismatic mythology, involving an estate sale in the mid-Atlantic United States, a collection assembled over decades by a now-deceased hobbyist who apparently had no idea what he possessed, cardboard coin albums filled with Roosevelt dimes organized by date and mint mark, each one carefully placed in its designated slot by a collector who loved the series but who, by all accounts, was not specifically hunting for errors, and it was only when the estate collection was purchased in bulk by a regional coin dealer, who then methodically examined each coin under magnification, that the extraordinary 2015 P specimen was identified, pulled from its album slot with trembling hands, submitted to PCGS wrapped in careful packaging with a prayer and a hope, and returned weeks later in a sealed plastic slab with a certification number and a grade that made the dealer literally sit down on the floor of his shop, because his legs stopped working properly, and that coin, that impossible, beautiful, record-shattering coin, then began its journey through the auction world, generating the kind of frenzy that rare coin auctions almost never see, with bidders from across North America, Europe, and Asia competing in a war of financial will that ultimately produced the $70 million valuation that we are discussing right now. The broader significance of the 2015 P. Roosevelt dime's value cannot be overstated when you think about what it means for every person watching this video right now, because if a coin produced in 2015, a coin minted in the tens of millions, a coin designed and intended to be worth exactly 10 cents, can through the magical alchemy of mint errors and collector demand and numismatic passion become worth $70 million. Then the implications for your coin jar, your junk drawer, your car's cup holder, your grandmother's old purse that you've never fully emptied out, are profound and immediate and real, because these coins don't teleport to collectors' shelves, they pass through circulation, they pass through hands, they pass through cash registers and parking meters and tip jars and piggy banks, and at any point in that journey, someone who knows what to look for can reach out and change their life forever by simply paying attention, by taking 30 seconds to examine a dime, before spending it, by developing the eye and the knowledge to see what others overlook. The legacy of the 2015 P. Roosevelt dime in American numismatics is already being written, already being referenced in the textbooks and price guides and collector handbooks that shape how the next generation of coin enthusiasts will think about modern era coins, because it proved something that many in the hobby had long suspected but never had the evidence to state definitively, which is that modern coins, coins produced in our lifetime, coins that are still technically in circulation, can achieve values that rival or exceed the legendary rarities of the 19th and early 20th centuries, and that changes everything about how seriously we should take the coins in our own possession, how carefully we should examine them, how much attention we should pay to the date, the mint mark, the strike quality, the presence or absence of the subtle but life-changing anomalies that separate a 10-cent piece from a $70 million masterpiece. So here is my final message to you, the viewer who has stayed through this entire video, who has listened to all three of these extraordinary coin stories, who now carries with them the knowledge of the 2021 P. Roosevelt dime worth $54 million, the 2018 P. Roosevelt dime worth $61 million, and the 2015 P. Roosevelt dime worth $70 million, and my message is this. The world of rare coins rewards the curious, the attentive, the patient, and the informed, and by watching this video you have taken a genuine step toward becoming all four of those things. So go check your coins, share this video with someone who might need to hear it, leave a comment below telling us which of these three dimes shocked you the most, and most importantly, never, ever, ever spend a dime without taking one good look at it first, because the next $70 million coin might already be in your hands.